Good morning. We're here at the Wilderness Center in Wilmot, Ohio. It's a beautiful morning. All the leaves are turning, and here at the Wilderness Center, all kinds of critters are running around. And I wanted to welcome you to our 36th annual Wilderness Center Woodcarvers Woodcarving Show. Again, we're here in Wilmot, Ohio, and our club meets here at the Wilderness Center the second and fourth Saturday of every month. Due to COVID, we have not been meeting here, so we've been trying to stay together like all other clubs, doing virtual as well as uh, practicing social distancing and meeting in outdoor settings. So if any of you are local and would like to join our club, please contact the Wilderness Center. And so I want to go over what we're going to cover today, and I hope all of you enjoy this. Uh, right now at 10 a.m. after I go through this, we're going to be doing wood carving 101. So just a basic of what tools are, safety and things like that. At 11 a.m. we'll be showing you introduction to wood burning. At noon, we'll be doing Christmas ornaments. At 1 p.m. we'll be doing demonstrations on relief carvings. At 2 p.m., we'll have chip carving 101. And then at 3 p.m., a few of us members will be carving Christmas ornaments that like the ones that we were doing for our Christmas tree, which we are raffling locally. If you come to the Wilderness Center, you can buy tickets to our Christmas tree raffle. It's a lit Christmas tree, and all the ornaments are hand carved by our members. And then at 4 o'clock, we'll wrap up and answer any questions that you may have. So throughout the live show, we will have door prizes. We'll have all the door prizes are hand carved and are things that our members have done in the past. And some of these are actual projects that we've done as a club. We also will be giving away two $25 gift certificates at Statlander Carvings. That's statlandercarvings.com. Bob was gracious enough to give us those gift certificates, and we will draw from a list of people who are live and responding and active in our chat. And these gift certificates are virtual, so we can send them to you and you can use them at Bob's internet wood carving supply store for all of your wood carving needs. So let's get into wood carving 101. The first thing I wanted to talk about was safety. First and foremost, before you do anything, you have to have a mindset for safety. And what I wanted to show you were a couple things that we use for safety measures. Personally, this is the glove I use. It's cut resistant, and use it for my left hand. And what I do with this is it holds your piece so that if you're using any type of tool, you can be sure that your hands will be protected because the tools are very sharp. In fact, the sharper the tool, the safer it is because you're not having to force it through the wood. There's many different types of gloves. Here's one of them I've used. Here's another one I've used. You can get them at any wood carving supply store like Statlanders. Another thing you can actually use gloves on both hands if you wish. What I use is a thumb guard, and Don Mertz, who's a CCA member, turned me on to these little rubber coverings for your thumb, and that protects your thumb when you're carving. And if you inadvertently slip and hit your thumb, that does protect it. There's leather guards as well, and those are very effective. They're a little bulkier, but the leather is always a good option. Very cut resistant and it's safe. They also make finger guards, and the reason for that is as you're carving for quite some time, you may get a blister on your finger. That kind of protects that as well as from being cut. Uh, there's also what you can get called vet tape. So veterinary tape, you can use that and wrap your finger, or what us frugal wood carvers typically do is if you have a leather wrap that after some time gets worn, then we just wrap it with the vet tape just to prolong its use. So many ways to protect yourself. The most important thing is to protect yourself. Um, some people don't use gloves at all. That's their choice. They've been doing that for a long time, and uh, that's kind of the old school way of carving, which is fine. I'm just, for me, I just know one slip, and I just don't want to have to deal with going to the hospital with a one slip of a knife. And you can actually see um, what's you can actually see where I cut into my glove. So uh, that's where my glove saved me. I actually did have a little cut on my finger, but it was superficial. If I didn't have this glove on, I probably would have needed stitches. So for me, I'm cautious, better safe than sorry, and especially for beginners, I think it's very important to have as much safety equipment on as you can. So next, I want to go over are the tools of the trade. So the first thing I want to cover are knives. Uh, Knives are uh, primary tool for carving, and I just want to go over what some of the knives look like. And so most common knife is a rough out knife. Now, rough out knife is just that. It's used for roughing out your carving, and it has typically a bigger blade, so it's more sturdy for um, getting through the wood. So I'll just give you a demonstration on carving. So as you can see, carving the end grain here, it's just kind of roughing out and making cuts to your desired look. So that's a rough out knife. And okay, all right. And then we have a detail knife. If you look at the difference, rough out knife again is a little bigger. The detail knife is thinner, and it's more for more detail work. So as you can see, I just made a little eye there, and the detailed knife is a little more flexible, a little more giving, and can do more intricate work. So just making an arc there. So those are the two typical knives that are in the typical woodcarver's toolbox. And then as you can see that the blades are flat and straight, there's other types of carving knives that have a curved, you can see a curved blade. That's a scimitar type of upsweep blade. And the way this is different is that this uses a slicing cut. So as you cut, you're actually making slicing moves, which gives a more of a slicing and a cleaner cut. Sometimes when you use a straight, you're coming straight through and not so much slicing. With this type of blade, you're really slicing and getting a real clean cut. and you can see how sharp these are. You just go right through this. And this is basswood. Just wanted to tell you the types of wood that we typically use is basswood for carving, as well as butternut. Um, you, there's other types of wood that we use too. I mean, we use walnut, cherry, fruit woods. Uh, Typically, those are different types. We use those for relief carving, but for carving in the round and relief carving, and some of the other projects I've done, we typically use basswood. It's got straight grain and it's soft, and you can see how easy the knife goes through the wood. Then there's specialty knives, and for example, this is a Dunkle knife, and you can see it kind of has an upsweep, but it's very small, and it's for intricate work. And so that's where I typically use this to clean up like an eye. If I wanted just to get and round it over, I will typically use this just to get into the tight areas. And again, this uses a slicing action, and it cuts very clean. But this is a kind of a specialty knife. It's a billet. I really like the heft to it and the handle. And again, uh, use it for more intricate work, so it's not used as much as the detail and the rough out knife. Another type of knife I have is another Dunkle knife, and if you can see, it's curved. And what this can be used for is to do spoons, or to do type of work where you're hollowing out. So that's what this type of knife does. If you can see, it's actually making a bowl cut and hollowing it out. So this is really good for um, doing knife work, carving out a spoon. And again, it goes right through very easy. So this is another type of specialty knife. And then for those of you who are local, here I have a Werther's carving knife. And you can see it's pretty hefty. The handle is typically smaller, but it's got good weight to it. And one thing about the Werther knife is that the actual metal, the tine, goes all the way through the handle, so it's very substantial, and it it's good for really doing rough out work. Hence the big handle, or the big thickness, and uh, big for the cutting edge. And then for those who like to carve on the go, we have this is an old timer. I think FlexCut makes the whittling jack, and it's kind of the Swiss Army of knives. So you have your actual carving knife, and then you have gouges. And we will start to talk about gouges here in a minute, but here's a type of scoop gouge that I just showed you earlier. But this is an all-in-one tool, and that way you can just carve on the go and not have to take all of your gouges and knives with you. Another type of knife is the chip carving knife, and we will be doing chip carving at 2 p.m. today. So if you're interested in chip carving, stay tuned, and we will do a 2 o'clock show for that. And if you notice, the chip carving knife it's got an angle to it, and as you can see, it's turned down on both of these. One is bigger than the other, And chip carving, here's a form of chip carving that I did. It's a, they call it a wooden icicle. And it's really, chip carving is very um, engineered is a good term. So it's, uh, you lay out your pattern and then you follow the pattern with your chip carving knife. And it's just a matter of taking the chips away and leaving behind the pattern that you've laid out. So a chip carving knife, you come in at an angle and then you just relieve that angle. So that's what's good about the design of these knives. It allows you to stab into the wood and to actually relieve that wood. And of course, Bob will show you the basics of chip carving, doing the triangles and how to actually use the proper angle for chip carving at 2 o'clock. So stay tuned for that. He does beautiful work. So those are the knives. And all of you that are online, if you have any questions, type them in and we will answer them. We have people manning the phone, so to speak, so that we can make this as interactive as you want. And if you're local and wish to participate in our door prizes, type door prize in the post, in the live feed, and we will put you in the drawing for the door prizes for this session. So let's go next to our gouges. Now, gouges are different than knives and serve a different purpose. So the types of gouges that we have can be classified as palm gouges, medium gouges, V gouges, U gouges, and just different shapes. So I wanted to show you a couple of gouges here. And you can see how different the shapes are on these gouges. And of course, each one has a different purpose. So if we look at one of the gouges I use a lot when I rough out my carvings. And for instance, if we look at this carving here, this is a soft V gouge. And the reason it's called a soft V is if you look at it, it's got a V shape, but it's not a pointed V. It's kind of a cross between a U and a V if you look at it. So what this does, it allows me to rough out the shape of what I want to do. And so when I first do a carving like this, I will take a soft V and I will just outline very roughly where the face will be, where the hat is going to go, the ears, and just to get an idea where things should be and make sure that they actually are proportional. So a soft V is a very popular tool. Now, how to use one of these tools? Again, this is a palm gouge. There are a couple ways. Some people like to do it this way, where they're coming toward their wrist, and they can use more of a wrist motion. The only danger is that your wrists are not protected, but with practice, you're as you can see, I'm not going all the way to my wrist. I'm just using a hinge-like action to do this. Other people like to go away from them and do a push type of motion. So I'm pushing away from myself, very safe. And the third method that one of the things I learned from CCA member Dwayne Gosnell is he puts the gouge between his middle two fingers and puts his thumb on the end of it. And when I saw that, I thought that was so different. And it took me a couple days, but now I really love that technique because it gives me so much control over my tool. And I'm not using my wrists as much as I'm using the bigger muscles in my arm. So it's more control. I'm actually doing a push, and between my hand, my thumb, and my arm and bicep, I feel like I'm getting more control and can actually do a push away from myself and still have control and still be safe. So again, this is the soft V. Now here is a U gouge. So it's, if you can see what I'm taking away, it is a U shape. So this can be used for, again, many purposes. I use this to create an eye socket. If we look at when I created my eye, I create an eye socket first because if you think about the bone structure of your face, and when you create an eye, you actually have an eye socket. There's a bone back there. So before you carve your eye, you want to create an eye socket and then carve the eye after you create the eye socket. So this is a good tool for that, to actually create a U type of divot there so you can create an eye socket. That's just one of the many uses for that. And then for larger carvings, here's another U gouge. It's actually bigger, so you can take more, as you can see, if I'm creating a bigger eye, or any type of reason you want to create a U type of structure like that. And then we have a more of a flatter gouge, and that it takes more of a shallow cut, so not as severe as a deep U gouge. Here is a bull nose gouge, and so you can see it's very flat, and it can be used to take a very shallow cut. As you can see, that's paper thin, and there's a little flex to this, so you can actually get a little give to that, and just pare this down. It's almost like a wood plane type of blade on that. It just takes a very shallow cut of piece of wood there. Then of course we have, this is very tiny to see, we have a V gouge, and just as it's called, it takes a V. So it's a pointed V, and as you carve, it will take a V cut. It's also called a veiner tool. So creates a V. It's good for creating fur, hair types of carving. Using this as well as the U gouge, you use both of them and can create. You can see you can make wavy cuts to make it look like a beard or hair, or even you can use it to make a tree bark. Anything, sky's the limit to use these tools in combination, and just let your creative juices flow. Now those were the palm gouges, and if you look at a couple of my medium and bigger gouges, these can be used with a mallet. And so if you have a large carving that you need to take a lot of wood out, and if the wood is even hard, like the fruit woods, other than wood like bass or butternut, you can use a mallet to strike it and to actually really get in and take the wood away. Or you can use it, like the palm gouge, only it's bigger, using your hands and not a mallet. And again, depending on the sweep and how deep it is, will depend on how deep the cut will be. And so this is a flatter number 5 gouge, whereas this is a more swept number 8 gouge, and this will take a deeper cut. Okay. And so that is it for the gouges. We also have specialty tools, and those are used for very specific use cases. So if we look at this tool, this is actually you could call it a dimple tool, or uh, a texturing tool, I think it's what it's called. And so the very specific use for this is you can see it creates a triangular dimple. And so this can be used if you lay out a pattern. You can actually put these side by side and create a pattern. So this could actually be a pattern for a sweater. You can create to make it look like somebody has 5 o'clock shadow on their face. Any type of, depending on how deep you go, you can, and how either random or how uh, structurally laid out you do this. Again, you can create any type of texturing, fabric, hair. Uh, Again, these tools are specific, and there's really no limit to what you can use it for. As you play with the tool, you can get ideas on, different angles on, and how you may want to utilize these within your carving. I just suggest you play with them. It really gives you ideas on what you may want to do with your carvings. Okay. We have any chatter at, okay, we want to, if somebody wants to type in door prize, we'd like to give a door prize away. If you're local, you can pick it up here at the Wilderness Center. The door prize we have coming up is a wood burned light switch plate, and it's very nice. The back of it just screws right to where your existing light plate is, and of course it's wood burned and colored. So that's up for our door prize. Anyone who wishes to be entered, please type in door prize, and we will draw here in a few minutes. So lastly, I want to talk about sharpening. As with tools, you can ask 10 people how to sharpen, and you'll get 10 different answers, as well as what's the best tool. 10 carvers will give you 10 different answers. There's the good answer is whatever works for you. I can show you a couple ways to sharpen, and it may work for you, it may not. Again, it's whatever works best for you. So when you get a knife from a vendor, I'll just pick my detail knife here. This is a Helvey knife that I got from Helvey Knives. I like um, the way their knives are handmade, and they come very sharp, right out of the boxes, right when they deliver it to you. So with these knives, so far, the only thing I've had to do with these knives to keep them razor sharp is to use a strop. Now, a strop, if you think about the old barbershop movies where the barber will take a straight razor and he'll strop back and forth before he shaves the person. That's basically what you're doing with a strop. You're taking a, a piece of leather that is on a hard backing, this being wood, could be anything. It could be cow leather or pig skin or any type of leather. But the key is you want it on a hard backing, because if you have a spongy piece of leather that you're stropping, you can get uh, discrepancies in how your blade will strop. It could be wavy. It wouldn't be. It's not as consistent unless you have a hard backing. And so um, the leather, what we do is we load it with jeweler's rouge, or a type of um, compound that you can buy with your strop, that actually is a very fine resin that polishes your knife. So um, one of the things with the Helvey knives, that the bevel on them, they're flat. So the easy way to strop it is to put your finger on the knife, and then you just go along back and forth. And please don't do what you've seen people do, the really fat. You do not have to do it fast. In fact, there is a video out there that I cringe at, where the guy is going so fast, and he, that just sets you up to roll over uh, your blade, so you're not getting a consistent polish, and it could slip and cut you very easy. You do not have to do it like that. You can take very deliberate. What I like to do is do 10 one way, and then 10 the other way. Again, being safe. And that strop as well, that leather as well as the resin, is polishing this and making it razor sharp. And what I typically do is every time I finish carving, I will strop my knives so that when I carve the next time, they're ready to go. I don't have to strop before I start work on a carving. But this so far is all I've had to do to my knives to keep them razor sharp. Now, there'll be a time where you'll carve and you'll see that, hey, I've got a little nick in my knife. And so a strop will not take that nick out. What you have to do is, one of the other ways to sharpen a knife when it gets to that point is you can use sandpaper. So you could actually, the same way I'm stropping, you could take sandpaper and start at 100 grit, 120, 400, 1,000, just get more fine and more fine. And then once you get that nick taken out, you can then go to the strop. There's also belt sanders specifically for sharpening. And I think Workmate makes those, or Work Sharp, I think is the company. And basically it's just like a belt, and uh, you start out again with 100 grit, go to 200, and it gives you a, a sturdy tool rest so that you can get a consistent bevel and grind out the imperfection in your knife. You can also use sanding stones or Arkansas stones. I've got a couple here that are actually ceramic, and you can actually take a knife and again use these. This is a medium and this is a fine, so you can actually use these stones to sharpen your knife, go from the coarse to the fine, and that will also work. Again, try the different methods. Whatever works for you um, is the best way to sharpen for you. But you really want to make sure that your knives are razor sharp. That's the safest knife and the best knife for carving your projects. Now also there's buffing wheels. So I do not have one here, but for sharpening your gouges, you can use these stones to sharpen them, and going into a curve, and you follow the curve of your tool so that you can sharpen them. You can strop them as well. Again, following the curve of your tool. There's also buffing wheels. So if you have a grinder, you can substitute the actual grinder with the buffing wheels. You can get buffing wheels at any hardware store. And the same thing, you load them up with the compound of Jeweler's Rouge or any type of uh, stropping compound, and then you just use the buffing wheel to basically power strop your tool to mirror finish to get it razor sharp. So a lot of videos out there on sharpening. Everybody has their own opinion, best ways to do it. Find yours, try them out. The goal is to keep your tools sharp. And so I wanted to also show a couple carvings I have here. This carving is very old, and the person I got this from thought it was from the turn of the century. And as you can see how the history of carving in just a couple of the pieces I have here. This is an articulated person, and it's very fragile, but you can see the patina over the years that has come across the paint of this fellow here. And this is just an example of primitive carving that people did years and years ago. And then this carving is very interesting. This was carved in 1942 during World War II, and by someone in the Navy when he was deployed overseas. So this gentleman actually was on a ship, and he carved this during World War II. And you can see the little ball inside of this, for better term, a cage that he carved. And again, this was all one piece of wood. And oh, I take that back. It was carved in 1944 in Hawaii. And I know it was a person. I looked him up. I have his dog tags as well, and saw his service within the Navy. So this is very good work from carving from one piece of wood. As you can see, it's all together, and that's one of the fun projects we do is making these chains at our club. But again, another example of carving from the 40s. One of the carvings that I've done, and this is a Don Worley rough out, and a lot of fun to do. It's an Amish man that I did with Don Worley, and learned a lot from him. So one of the things I suggest, if you are interested in carving, is to see if there's a carving club near you where you live. And hopefully once we get back to a normal environment where we can all carve together, there's lots of events and carving opportunities out there. And that's the best way to learn, is to sit with someone who carves and learn all types of ways to carve. And I learned a lot just by doing this with Dawn. And one of the big things I've learned is how to paint. And so this is using acrylic paint, and it's watered down. And the reason it's watered down is, what you want to do is, when you paint your wood carvings, you don't want it to look like plastic. You don't want such a heavy layer of paint on it that it looks like something you could buy at Walmart. Or but by using a watered down acrylic paint, you can still see that, yes, this is wood. You can still see the grain and the texture, and see that, hey, this, I can see little imperfections. I can see it's carved, and I can see that someone took time to actually make this, and to do things by hand and not use a machine or a plastic mold. So one of the carvings, again, I've got, like a lot of wood carvers, a lot of things in progress that I need to finish. This one here is I'm making a COVID Santa with a mask on, and that's going to be for a ornament exchange. I hope to get this done pretty soon. It's kind of roughed out. I just need to put the details in, and we'll have a COVID Santa ornament. I like to do caricature carving, so started a baseball player here, and this guy I still need to finish and paint. And again, a baseball player with a bat, and then this is a cowboy bust that I'm working on. And then of course I've got another type of cowboy that I just need to do a couple more things, and then he's off to paint. But these are just some of the things you can do as a wood carver. Again, later on, we'll get more into the relief carving, the wood burning, and the chip carving. Those are other types of wood carving that I encourage everyone to try and find out what type of carving best suits you, what interests you. For me, it's caricature carving. So I really enjoy taking a piece of wood and carving out a face, and just have it speak to me, and change the face and give it different looks. Everyone is different. Every piece I do is different, and it just makes me smile and laugh when I see the face actually come out of the wood. So that is all I had for this session.
We've got people who typed door prize in. So Keith, why don't you pick a number between 1 and 10 for the winner of the door prize?
I will pick my mom's favorite number, number 4.
And the winner is Mary Ann Shelton. So Mary Ann, you can stop by the Wilderness Center anytime you want to pick up your door prize.
And you get the wood burned and colored light switch plate. Very nice. One of a kind. Thank you for participating, and enjoy your prize. And so what we will do is we will break here for a few minutes and we will set up for the wood burning session. I hope you enjoyed the very basic overview of the tools, and I hope you stay tuned the rest of the day. And again, door prizes, and we will also draw for the virtual $25 gift certificate at statlandercarvings.com. Thank you.